Hi guys, this is Karthik Arora. In this video, I'll be discussing the sixth problem of the July LeetCode Challenge. So the problem here is very straightforward. The problem name is Hamming distance and we're given with two integers x and y. And what we want to do is we want to calculate the Hamming distance between x and y. So first of all, I'll just tell you what Hamming distance is and you will see that it is a straightforward implementation question. However, we'll be able to make the implementation very simple in this particular problem. So we have this x and we can write x in its binary representation. So let's just take an example. So for example, x equal to 1 and y equals to 4 as they have shown here. So this is x and this is y equals to 4. So these are the binary representations of 1 and 4. And to evaluate the Hamming distance between these two numbers, the Hamming distance will be the number of positions in which x and y differ, okay, in their binary representations. So here in the 0th bit, x and y do differ. So I should add 1 to my answer, okay. Same way, here the bits do not differ in the first positions, 0th, 1st, 2nd and 3rd. So yeah, in the first positions, x and y do not differ. So to my answer or the number of bits in which x and y differ, I should add a 0. Let me just call my final answer to be some value, maybe okay, I'll just call my final answer to be answer only. And here I should for the 0th bit I will add 1 to the answer. Initially answer is 0. For the first bit I will add 0 to the answer for the second bit. Now at the second bit it's clear that these two bits differ, right? So I will add 1 to my answer for this particular position. For this particular position both the bits are same, right? So I will add nothing to my answer. So overall I saw that there were two positions in these numbers x and y, and for those two positions I need to add a 1 to the answer. So overall I'll be adding 1 twice, so my answer is going to be 2, which is the case here. So the most straightforward algorithm that would come to anyone's mind is that you can simply convert x to its binary form, y to its binary form. Converting a number to its binary form can be done in log n time, where n is the number of digits in the integer. So if you have an integer as long as 2 to the power 31, you will need log of 2 to the power 31 operations to convert it into its binary, right? So overall you can convert both the numbers into their binary forms and simply compare their bits at different positions, and for the differing bits you can add 1 to your answer. This can be an algorithm which will operate in big O of log n. But let's discuss a better algorithm. A better algorithm or a better approach. So let's take any two numbers x and y, and I'll write some binary representations for x and y. So let's take something like this. So let's say this is your x and this is your y. Now let's do the same thing that we did for the smaller input example, and you will see that at the 0th bit there is no difference, so add nothing to your answer. At this particular bit there is no difference, right? So I will add 0 to my answer. Here the bits do differ, so add 1 to your answer. Here also the bits differ, add 1 to your answer. Here the bits differ, add 1 to your answer. Similarly here also bits differ, add 1 to the answer. Now here the bits are same, so add 0 to your answer. And here the bits are again differing, so they are different bits, okay. Here we have a 0, here we have a 1, so I will add 1 to my answer. So overall the number of ones in this particular string is going to be my answer, right? The Hamming distance between x and y. The number of ones here are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So my answer for this particular x and y is going to be 5. Now let's make a few observations to understand what kind of operation was this. So we were looking at the bits of x and y, and if the bits were 0, 0, so let's say that my operation is OP, and if the bits at the corresponding positions are 0 and 0, then 0 OP 0 was coming out to be 0, right? Because the bits were same, so I was not doing any operation. 1 OP 1. This means if the ith bit of x is 1 and the ith bit of y is also 1, something like this, then 1 OP 1, this particular operation to generate this number here. So 1 OP 1 is 0 because the bits are same. Now consider what will be 0 OP 1. So the ith bit of x is 0, something like this, and the ith bit of y, the corresponding bit of y is 1, and I'm generating this particular guy 1 here. So 0 OP 1 is 1. What about 1 OP 1? Oh, 1 OP 0. So I have 1 at the ith bit here and a 0 here. So 1 OP 0 was also coming out to be 1. So these are the 4 operations that I'm performing to generate this string, right? Now, if you carefully notice, these 4 operations are nothing but this OP is nothing but the XOR. If you carefully notice the truth table for this operation that I was performing here, depending upon the bits, this OP is nothing but the XOR operation in reality. So what I can do is, instead of traversing these entire integers x and y and checking if their ith bit corresponding bits are same or not, I could simply XOR them up, and this thing here, this entire string, instead of generating this, is going to be nothing but x XOR y. The binary representation of x XOR y is going to be the same string that I generated, okay? Now all I need to do is I want to count the number of set bits or the number of ones in the binary representation of x XOR y. Again, to do that I can traverse x XOR y and calculate the number of bits. But then the thing is that if I'm still looping through the number, the algorithm is almost the same. I could have looped on x and y instead. So the important thing here, or the thing that you should know, is that there is an inbuilt function in C++ library known as built-in pop count. Built-in pop count works in constant number of operations and takes an integer and returns the number of set bits in that particular integer. So all you have to do now is you have to return the number of ones in x or y, and number of ones in an integer is given by the function, the built-in function, built-in pop count, and that's it. Okay, so I'll be returning the built-in pop count of x or y. So let's move to the implementation. This is going to be pretty quick. I have these two integers and I'm going to return built-in pop count of x XOR y as discussed. I just hope I've used the function properly here. Alright, so I've made a mistake. Okay, it's underscore built-in pop count. Yeah, so you can see that the sample ran successfully and the solution got an accepted verdict. So guys, hopefully this video was helpful to you, especially the knowledge of knowing that there exists an inbuilt function known as built-in pop count. And now the time complexity for this will be big O of 1 for the XOR operation, and it is said that built-in pop count works in constant operations only. It is big O of b is the number of bits in an integer, but the way it is implemented, it uses the architecture of the CPU, so it's in fact constant operations only, and the time needed to evaluate built-in pop count actually depends upon the architecture of the CPU. And there are it's not a function in which you are having for loops or something. So yeah, it's almost as fast as the XOR. So guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.